What's up, everybody? I'm Dusty, as always, and this is another edition of Cooking with Pros and Cons. Tonight, we're making roasted rosemary chicken with a beurre blanc sauce, some twice-baked potatoes, and sautéed asparagus. Stick around.
Hey everybody, still Jeff, still cooking for you guys with pros and cons. Be sure to check out this great idea for this twice baked potato. I think you'll enjoy it very much. Now, first and foremost, your standard russet Idaho potato works great for this one. What we want to do is just perforate it a little bit with your standard fork in very narrow line across the top. And you want to give yourself just a little bit of room on the ends right here so we could fold it later into a more proper bowl shape. You'll see that in a few. The next step is take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and give it a nice little covering over the top all the way around. The oil is going to help the skin crisp up just a little bit, and so you have a nice textural contrast when you go to enjoy your finished product. I already have a few more set and ready to go, so the rest is easy from here. The easiest part about it. Oven's at 350 degrees, already preheated, and we're going to go for about 60 minutes on this one. It's going to be a good one, guys. And be sure to stay tuned for our Chewed Up and Spit Out podcast, always coming up after our Cooking with Pros and Cons. Catch you guys later.
What's up, everybody? I'm back to show you how to make some roasted rosemary chicken. So for this operation, what you're going to need is your butter pads, your rosemary, a little bit of seasonings, some garlic, and olive oil. And I got everything in separate bowls because you want to keep in account that anything you touch is going to have raw chicken on it. So if you're using rosemary for anything else, make sure to keep this rosemary separate. A lot of people remember to wash their hands, but not a lot of people realize if you touch something with those dirty hands, it is now dirty also. So step one for the chicken, you're going to take your thigh, you're going to want to kind of scrunch it up, get it into a nice shape, and then find the gap right there between the meat and the skin. You want to slide your finger right onto that gap. Don't tear the skin all the way off, but slide one of the little pads of butter up underneath it. Now that is going to cause the skin to get nice and crispy when it cooks up, as opposed to having it all loose and flabby. So then we're going to drizzle on a little bit of the olive oil, and that's basically just to help everything stick to that skin. A little pinch of the garlic, spread that around, some salt and pepper, and then just a little sprinkle of the rosemary. And you want to use fresh and not dried, because the dried will just kind of give you a flavorful sticks kind of feeling, whereas opposed to the fresh really brings the chicken together. We're going to set that on the sheet pan. Then I'll do one more just so you guys really get an idea. So finger under the skin, slip in the butter pad, olive oil, spread the garlic, season, and the last of the rosemary. And when you take it, you want to grab it underneath and make sure it's formed together. That way it'll roast evenly and not get too dried out on any pieces. From there, make sure each of these guys has a little bit of its own space. Then you're going to cook at 350 for about 45 minutes. You're going to want the chicken to come up to 165 at least. So when you temp it, if you use a thermometer, you want to make sure to temp one of these bigger ones and not this guy. Because this guy is obviously going to hit 165 well before its big brother back there. So let's take this and throw it in the oven. I'll be back in 45 to finish her up. Next up is Timmy with some awesome beurre blanc.
Hi, I'm Timmy, aka the Fat Chef. Today I'm going to show you how to make a classic French sauce called beurre blanc, which translates to white butter in English. Today we're going to make my take on it. It'll be a citrus beurre blanc with a little bit of rosemary. So I'm going to start with a lemon, a lime, an orange, some white wine. I like to use rice wine vinegar, shallots, garlic, black pepper, and rosemary. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and cut my citrus. And then I'm going to go ahead and juice it in the bowl. I like to use a spoon because it makes it a little bit easier. With this one, I'm only going to do half a lemon because I have a huge lemon today. So I'm going to go ahead and get it into the bowl that we're going to use. I'm not worried about seeds or anything because I'm going to strain this in cheesecloth. So I'm not super worried about pulp or seeds because they're all going to be strained out anyways. I like to use the oranges because it adds a little bit of sweetness, so I don't have to worry about adjusting the flavor at the end as much. I still may decide to add a little bit of sugar if I think it's too bitter, but we'll see how that one plays out later. Alright, now that I'm all done with that, I'm going to go ahead and add my white wine, my shallots. These are 2 shallots roughly chopped, my aromatics, which are going to be basically my rosemary, bay leaves, a little bit of black pepper, and some garlic. And I like to use just a little bit of rice wine vinegar. It could also be substituted as any other kind of white vinegar. I'm going to do maybe a tablespoon, somewhere right around there. Now what's left is to set your burner. I like to go about medium-high heat. Oh shit. And we're going to let this come to a simmer, drop the temperature, and let it reduce down to au sec, which is almost dry in French. Alright, I'm back to show you guys how to finish off your beurre blanc. We've taken our base and got it down to about au sec, which is almost dry in French. And what we're going to start to do now is add in our butter to make an emulsion. So first thing I'm going to do is turn my heat down pretty much to low. And then I'm going to take my whisk and butter. I have it all cut up. It's cold out of the oven. I'm sorry, out of the refrigerator. And we're going to just slowly start adding it in. And we're just going to take some time to whisk this all together. This is going to take a little bit. It is what it is, but this is going to make the emulsion proper and make it right. And to start, we're going to go one pat at a time. We can eventually add a little bit more to make it faster. And what we're going to be looking for as an end product is nappe, which in French is basically going to be coating a spoon. Probably not the right translation, but that's how it actually works out to be. Alright, so now that we have a pretty decent emulsion, we can add a little bit more butter instead of one pat at a time, just to speed things up a little bit. So one thing about an emulsion that you may or may not know is if it reaches above about 140 degrees, you're going to break your sauce. If it reaches below about 70 degrees, it's going to start to solidify. So you got to kind of have that range. Alright, so now we have basically emulsified all of our butter into our base. And at this point, we're going to check consistency. We're also going to turn down the heat because we basically are done with this. We just want to season it to taste. We want to make sure that our actual mixture doesn't get above about 140 degrees or below about 70 degrees, because we made a perfect emulsion right now. Like, that is beautiful. But here's the check nappe. So I'm going to take a spoon, make sure we just get a little bit here, and oh my goodness, look at how it coats the back of that spoon. That's beautiful. Okay, so now I'm going to taste it. This hasn't been seasoned yet, so we are going to add salt, maybe a little pepper, and depending on what we're making, for this sauce especially, we can add a little bit of sweetness if we want to add that to the dish. So we'll give it a taste. Well, that's tasting really good. It definitely needs a little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt. The sweetness is almost perfect. Like I said with the oranges before, that's why I like to use them. It adds a little bit of sweetness with still maintaining that citrus flavor. So we're going to do a little bit of pepper in here. And we're going to add some salt. I think I need a little bit more than 1 pinch. We're going to go with 2. The great thing about this is you can always add a little bit more, but you don't want to add too much. So we're going to whisk it all in, make sure everything's incorporated. We're going to give it another taste just to make sure we're on point. And after this, we're going to strain it. And I'm going to use cheesecloth because, unfortunately, I don't have a chinois, which is what I'd use in a restaurant situation. So once again, look at that nappe. It's beautiful. No breaking, no anything. That's great sauce. So we'll go for one more taste. And I hit that salt and pepper level. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have our sauce completely emulsified, it's time to strain the sauce. In a kitchen setting, I would probably use a chinois. It's a little bit expensive to get one, so today we're going to use cheesecloth. It's a little bit messier, but it'll get the job done. I have my cheesecloth draped over a bowl that I'm going to put my sauce into, and right now all we have to do is just pour it into the bowl with the cheesecloth. And here's where it gets a little bit messy. Sorry for that. Also, might want to have a little bit of kitchen hands because it is going to be hot. This did just come off of a stove. So what we're going to do at this point is take the cheesecloth and strain out our sauce. So that means we won't have the peppercorns, we won't have the bay leaves, or the shallots. All we'll be left with is a silky, sexy beurre blanc. Like I said, it's a little bit messy. Sorry about that. I can't really do it otherwise without a chinois. All right, and there you have it. You've made a classic French sauce that can be used for multiple different things. This is beurre blanc. Thanks for watching. Stick it to whatever.
Hey there, it's still Jeff here, still cooking. We got some asparagus to show you guys tonight on our side vegetable dish. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and these thicker ones that have the really thick stalks on them as opposed to the thinner ones. We kind of want to get rid of that stalk down at the bottom there because it's a very fibrous, very woody. It's not very good for texturally, when you're trying to chew it. So we'll just knock off that little bit right there. And these guys, I'll just knock off the tips a little bit. What I'll also do is these huge triangles right here are also very fibrous. Now we like fiber for digestive purposes. What we want to do is keep some fiber in there just to help us move through our digestive process. So I'm just going to knock off some of those really thicker guys as you see right there. It doesn't take much, just a little bit extra care goes a long way when you're cooking for other people, as always. Alright, just knock the extra off. And I have these other ones that I've already prepared for this operation. And if we bring it all over here, I have some bacon fat that I reserved from making bacon bits earlier. What we want to do is go ahead and fry our asparagus in the bacon fat. And we'll rotate it as we go. And towards the end, we'll go ahead and reduce it with a little bit of white wine, maybe some lemon juice, just to absorb that acidic flavor inside of the asparagus itself. And while we're going with this one, I'm going to go ahead and grab some garlic and some salt and pepper real quick. We'll put that on top for the moment. Nice minced garlic. Eventually that will work its way down to the bottom, but we do not want it crisping up and burning too early. That's why I put it on top right now. I will reduce the heat down to about medium, maybe a little bit lower. We do not need to be in a hurry with this at all. Let it just develop its own flavors. Let the ingredients make friends with each other, if you will. A little bit of salt and pepper over the top. And I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on this guy, and we'll just go ahead and let that hang out while stirring occasionally so it cooks evenly. But I still want to capture all the steam that's releasing to help cook the asparagus down as it should be. Hey folks, here we are to wrap up the second part of twice baked potatoes. Second part, twice baked, yeah. So, got our potatoes that have been roasted off finely. Cut open like along the peripheral line. Split it open just like that. Perfect line. We're going to scoop out the innards that we have. You still want to try to keep the shell of the potato in, well, reasonable same structure that it came to you in, because we're going to fill all this real quick. Okay, this also confines the filling of the other potatoes that we've already baked off, so that's why it looks more than just one potato full. What I'm going to do right here is add just a dollop of butter, because butter is all of our friends. A couple of good dollops of sour cream as well. And then we'll go some salt and pepper mixture that we have left over from earlier. And we cannot forget garlic. Garlic is our friend. Alright, we'll give this guy just a quick little mashing. Just enough to incorporate all the ingredients together. You don't want to over mash it to where it comes all soupy and sloppy. And that's also how you can regulate how much butter and sour cream you want to put in there. You want it to have some texture, some form. Just right now, I think we want to add some more butter to it. And if we're adding more fat, always add more seasonings as well. Alright, now we're looking at a pretty solid, good, healthy mixture of our stuffing. Don't worry, we're going to top it with all sorts of good stuff later. Okay, so we're going to take the mixture that we just made, and keeping the shape of our potato bowl right here, you want to keep it about like that. Just go ahead and put some of this lovely stuff that we just made back in. A reprocessed potato for sure. Now that's going to be solid right there, and we'll just cap it off with a little bit of cheese. Now the temperature of the sour cream, drop the temperature of the internal meat of the potato. So what we want to do is bring the internal meat up and melt the cheese right over the top quite wonderfully. It shouldn't take more than about 8 to 10 minutes. And can't wait to finish this dish with you guys. Alright folks, I'm excited about this one. I think our asparagus is good to check in on. So let's go ahead and hop it on over here, you know. Oh yeah, she's looking pretty good. I think she's almost all the way there, but what we're going to do is we're just going to add a little bit of butter. Monte Albert is finished with butter. We're also going to go ahead and add a little bit of salt and pepper. Going to add a little squeeze of lemon, because Timmy was so nice to leave me a leftover lemon. We'll do it upside like that so we can catch all those seeds that pop down. Well, catch most of the seeds. And then, just to finish her off, we're going to go ahead and add a splash of white wine. Now we're talking. I'll give her just a little bit of stir, incorporate those ingredients. And at this point, you just need about 3 more minutes to let those flavors become friends. Capping it off. She's going to be good.
What's up, everybody? I'm back to pull that chicken out. So let's check it out and see how it's doing. Oh yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. If I had a thermometer, I would take its temperature to see. Feeling it, it feels done. And that crust, putting the butter under it, has given us a nice crispy crust. So just to be sure, if you don't have a thermometer, and this will pretty much, it'll take the juices out of the piece of chicken, but you can take one and cut into it and look for any pink. Now around the bone, you're always going to find a little bit of red and a little bit of pink, but the rest of the meat should look about like that. And that is roasted rosemary chicken. Stick around, Jeff's going to finish it up, then we're going to put this bad boy together and do a podcast.